So before we came this trip, Robbie spent a lot of time in front of the television or with his iPad. Even if he weren't actively watching it, it had to be on in the background. And if we tried to turn it off for the hour of ILS or whatever we were doing, it was an hour of pain and misery of him constantly going towards the television or looking for the remote control to turn that on. Even during the trip here or in between appointment times while we were doing hard chamber, he needed the iPad constantly. So when we started SAFE program, there was no electronics allowed, and after the first hour he didn't need them, and he has only asked for it twice on that first day and is not driven. And he sees the world through new eyes. It's like he's seeing everything for the first time, almost. He always could look at a tree and say tree. Now he looks at the tree like he understands the tree. It's hard to explain. We've seen this week more spontaneous speech in terms of initiating conversation. He spoke to one of the staff at ATA. Before she spoke to him, she came out of the door and he looked at her and said hi. And that's never been. We've always had to prompt him to say hi to someone or say bye, and now he's doing that on his own. We've seen more of those words through the week of things that he's wanted or whatnot. Just spontaneously, even two-word utterances of phrases that he never said before at all, even with prompt. So we've seen great things with the SAFE program. We've noticed a more increased use of his right hand when he was predominantly left-handed. He will now choose the right hand over the left. He enjoys toys more now for what they are and enjoys doing things, the sort of tool work involved with toys, not just watching a train go around a track constantly. And when we did introduce that toy back in, he only wanted to watch it for a few moments and then he walked away from it to pick up a book or to pick up a toy that had a function that he could actually interact with. So that's been wonderful for us to see. Looking forward to the next, like I can't believe we've been a week with no electronics. It just shocks me. And that we haven't needed that constantly and haven't asked for it. So it's allowing him to learn, to hear what's going on around him, I think, and you know, those words are now coming because of that. He's not so driven for the visual input or the television or the swing or whatever it may be, that he's now able to listen and learn and speak. So it's been great for us in that context.
Okay, we've been coming here for a year and a half with my grandson. He's 4 years old. This time when we came, we started a new program called the SAVE program on our second week here. And it has been phenomenal. We've seen huge changes in Robbie. And before, he wasn't talking much at all. He would repeat words that you said. There was no spontaneity into it. This time, after the first treatment, that was on Monday morning, he had an hour treatment, and when he came out, it was just like looking at a different child. He was happy, he was relaxed, he wasn't hyper. He is a child that loves his iPad and his television, his cartoons. He would sit there 24/7 if you allowed him to. And that day, we did 2 treatments, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. He never asked for TV. We went to the hotel room, nothing, never even went near it, whereas at home he would go and turn it on, very first thing. And he only asked for his iPad once. And when his mother told him that no, it was broken, that was it. He didn't ask for it anymore that day. So we continued the treatment. The next day when he came out, he wasn't so good with the speech therapy. She had a hard time getting him to sit and listen, whereas the day before he did everything she said. And as the days went on, like we're on the last day now, each day I've seen an improvement. He has never asked for TV at all in the whole week. He's asked for his iPad 3 times, not at all in the past 2 days. He is content to sit and play. He likes to interact more. He puts more thought into his play. Before, he would just sit and watch trains go around, or, you know, if he had emotion, anything that was moving, he would sit and watch it for hours. And now, we bought him a little moving race car when we first got here, and he hasn't had it for 3 days, and last night his mom turned it on, and he watched it for maybe 2 minutes, walked away, was no longer interested in it, didn't even bother with it. So that was great. The speech therapy is still a little bit hard. It's better in the afternoons. He's not as cantankerous, I'll say, because now it seems that he's developing a mind of his own, and he wants to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it, which is great. And the afternoons seem to go easier for her with speech therapy than the mornings do. I don't know why. But anyway, sitting in a chair in a dark room, looking at a little blue light or a little red light, whichever it may be at the time, has made big improvements in this little guy. And he is calmer. He is more articulate. He can pronounce words and say words that we never thought he would ever say. And today, when we left therapy and went back to the hotel, we were driving by the Walmart like we do every day. And Robbie loves to shop. And every day he points, but he never says the word. And today, when we were driving by the Walmart, he turned around and looked at me and pointed and said, Walmart. And I did a double take. And Karla said, what did he say? And I said, just a minute. And I said, what did you say? He was pointing out the window. He said, Walmart. Just as plain as day. And so we did a U-turn in a street we weren't supposed to go in, right in around the hotel and right back to Walmart. And Robbie was one happy little guy. So for us, that was, because he never says anything spontaneous, or he never did until this week. And he asked for things, like he would never, if he wanted us to go with him or to do anything for him, he'd come and take our hand and lead us. Now he'll come and say, come Nana, come Mama. And today when we got ready to come here, before we even thought about getting ready to come, he went over and picked up his shoes and brought them to his mom, and he said, go Car, and handed her the shoes. So he wanted to go right then and there. And then when we got here, we had half hour to wait before our appointment, and he took his mother's hand and walked down the hall and said, go. So he wanted to go right then, and he led her down the hallway right to the room where they're doing the sessions. And it has been great. I've seen huge improvements in everything. Like when before he'd know what you were talking about when you said things, and I'd point out things to him, and like we were near the airport last night, and I always point out the planes to him, and he'll look and then he'll look away. Last night he couldn't take his eyes off them. He was just that fascinated with the planes, and they were really low over the mall where we were, and he was just fascinated. So it's been phenomenal for us. It really has.